Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. And Larry, not only Man United won, but speaking of the Man United Supporters Club, we did have a victory yesterday in our charity match. We obviously beat Watford 5-4. Defending was optional, obviously. But we'll definitely get into that at the end of the podcast in terms of a review of the match. But speaking of your body, how is the body? Because I am in a world of hurt. I went down to do my shoelace this morning when I got up. I stayed down there for about 3 minutes. I just could not get up. My back was in an absolute state.
I tell you what, if Matic needs managing through his game time, or Ronaldo needs managing for his game time at 32 and 36 years of age, respectively, at 27, I am happy to announce my semi-retirement. Seriously, I am in some serious pain, mate. But I think that comes with artificial pitches. Is it young boys who have an artificial pitch? And obviously, we will verse them in a couple of days. So thankfully, at Old Trafford. But I tell you, artificial pitches are absolutely brutal. If you can play on grass, I rest assured it's the right option.
So you said a couple of weeks ago that Nemanja Matic, his legs had gone. Can you confirm at 27 the legs have gone?
Oh, look, I think I cover more ground than Matic does. In saying that, it does take some time to recover.
Well, there are some guys in the chat who obviously did play and came down to support. So we can leave, obviously, the review of the charity game will come at the end, and they can leave the review on your sort of running statistics. But Josh here, evening lads, 2 cracking results for United yesterday. Rob as well, evening lads, what a weekend. Was from front to back, very good weekend. George, good evening, mate, hope you're well. Ahmad, obviously a big sponsor of the Man United Supporters Club game against Watford. And it highlighted the game, some of the tackles Ahmad was throwing in, highlights of the game besides the goals. Flim, hope you're keeping well, man. George, first time in a while where we look comfortable. We'll definitely get into that and talk about what Ralf Rangnick spoke about before the game in regards to control, and that was the first thing that really came to mind in regards to control. It was comfortable. It looked like United back in the 90s or early 2000s. Evening off to Mike. Good to see you here, mate. My mum here. Obviously met you, Larry, yesterday at the charity match. And George, obviously the Supporters Club goalkeeper. Good evening, guys. Isn't it great to see 90 minutes where Fred doesn't do anything stupid? Well, besides that, not doing anything stupid, he actually did some very good stuff. So we'll obviously, Fred, he was the main man, which we'll obviously talk about. And Ryan, even though not the best game to watch, we got the win in the end. I thought it was a good game to watch, but obviously a lot to dissect and sort of break down the two different halves. But talking about the charity game, of course, the charity game, of course. I should have read further on. But, 5-4, what a game to watch. It would have been an absolute belter for the neutral. And just last comment here, before we get into Man United, you certainly do cover more ground, Larry. That's before you start running to. It was a fantastic start to that game. Some of the cobwebs that were being blown out were pretty impressive. But we'll get into the charity match at the end. Obviously, more important things to discuss, Larry, in terms of it's the start of the Ralf Rangnick era. And it was a lot of talk before the game, and there was a fear of being sort of all talk and sort of no show sort of thing. But he backed up the words. And with only, as he said, 45, 50 minutes on a training session during the week, he got his message across, and there was a difference. So we'll get into team selection, but just your initial reaction to what we did see.
A buzzword that Ralf Rangnick seems to be referring to is control. He seems to really enjoy saying the word control if you look at his press conferences and his interviews and anything to do with the media. And I think that's the best way to describe United's result this morning, Tom. It's just, while it wasn't the prettiest game of football, I thought you can see there's still plenty of room left for improvement, both with and without the ball. But you never felt Crystal Palace were really going to challenge us on goal. And I think that's the most pleasing aspect, considering our lack of clean sheets this season. And that's another important factor. It's a clean sheet and a well-deserved clean sheet. I thought there was only one opportunity, a clear-cut opportunity that Palace had. And it was the one that fell almost luckily for Jordan Ayew, which he shoots wide at the near post there. But other than that, great controlled performance, and it was really impressive to see the work rate of the team. So if that's one training session, keen to see what we look like in a month's time.
You talk about that chance to Ayew, and I just want to gauge your opinion, because I was thinking as the game sort of got on in 60th, 70th minute, and it sort of had the threat of being a 0-0 draw, I was thinking, what would the reaction be amongst the fan base? And I was thinking, well, hang on, I think we've seen enough that, okay, a draw wouldn't be good. We'll all be very frustrated. But I think a large section of the fan base would be able to sit back and say, okay, disappointing result, but it was a good performance. We saw something there that was positive. Now, let's say that Jordan Ayew chance goes in and Crystal Palace win 1-0. We're talking about control and we're talking about a positive performance. Are we going to say the same thing when exactly the same thing happens, but a Crystal Palace player just shoots wide? Exactly the same performance and approach and control, but we're having a far different discussion. So I'm just thinking, how important was the result in regards to to build on it, because at the moment, if it was a 0-0 draw, it would have been very flat type thing. Okay, good performance, but not quite good enough. But getting that win after that performance, look, no one's saying title challenge sort of thing, but it does put a positive outlook on the next sort of couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for this United side, it's going to be all about building confidence, isn't it? I mean, after the run that we've had, I think under Ollie, that there was a period before he got sacked. I think we had lost 5 of 7 games, something like that. It was an awful record. So what Ralf Rangnick wants to do now is be able to keep clean sheets. And what he said in his first press conference was spot on, and we already saw the fruits of that this morning. He said that we can't be going into games needing to score 3 goals like we did against Arsenal. You can't be conceding 2 goals and relying on Ronaldo to score 3. Because if we can just score a goal and rely on our defense, then that will then set the platform for good performances and good form. And I thought that's what we did. We built from the back first, and I thought that was the most pleasing aspect. Mind you, Tom, we haven't even talked about what we did with the ball. Now, you can talk about it was a 1-0 result, and on paper, yes, it could have easily been a Crystal Palace victory. But you know what? I thought the amount of chances United created is also really exciting.
Yeah, no, it was a really good performance. We'll get into sort of the team selection was an unchanged team type thing, but sort of Ralf Rangnick sort of thinking in regards to sort of that, what do you want to call it, 4-3-3 or 4-2-2. I think it was 4-3-3 in attack, and then sort of maybe came back into a sort of square in midfield, which people call 4-2-2 type thing. Tom from Sydney here saying this is what managing a team looks like. Take note, Ollie and loyalists. See, that's what I hate. I think so many people are using this as a stick to beat Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer with. And I just enjoy the win. The people bringing this into Solskjaer, we had good performances under Solskjaer. I just think that the hate he's getting off the back of this one, I think. No, I'm not saying that's typical real hate towards Solskjaer there from Tom, but I just think, yeah, just enjoy it for what it is. I think there's an overreaction to how positive it was. Obviously, I loved what I saw. I was so excited by it, but I think also it's one game. It's 1-0 against Crystal Palace. Manchester City or Liverpool will probably beat. Actually, Crystal Palace got a result at the Etihad, to be fair to them. But it's 1-0 against Crystal Palace. Diogo Dalot's performance was good. That doesn't mean Wan-Bissaka's career is over. Tellez had a very good performance. That doesn't mean Luke Shaw should be sold, type thing. I think there is a little bit of an overreaction due to the excitement, and we do need to respect whether it be Solskjaer or the people who didn't play. Because, yeah, it's one game against Crystal Palace. I share the excitement, but I think you do need a bit of respect, and I hate that stuff about Solskjaer being thrown into it. But 4-2-2, Larry, or 4-2-2, I'll get that extra 2 in there.
Yeah.
Did you read it as that, or was it a 4? There's a bit in my mind. I thought it was really a 4-3-3, but I understand the wingers were kind of tucked in defence, which made it a little bit hard for Palace to play through.
It was a weird one. I actually thought when the game kicked off, I thought it was a 4-3-3, but as the game went on, I felt at some point it switched to a 4-2-2 because you had Bruno and Sancho almost playing as 2 10s. Sancho particularly was very central, and Bruno occupied that left-hand channel. And then you had Rashford and Ronaldo up front. So, yeah, I think there's fluidity in that system, which I like. And I think that's a credit to Ralf Rangnick. And again, I've seen that happen under Solskjaer as well, where our formation has changed in the middle of games. So, again, not a stick to beat him with. But I like the adaptability, considering it is his first game in charge. I think the safe option would be, actually, I want to play a certain way. I want to set up a certain way and let the boys go out and do it. So the fact that there's that tactical fluidity, not only game to game, but within a game, I think that's fantastic. And look, I think we'll only really see the benefits of the manager maybe in a month's time, Tom, when he's been able to implement his structure both off the ball and on the ball. But it's promising signs.
Well, I want to get into, they pretty much dominated the discussion in regards to McFred and midfield, and especially Fred. But I just wanted to point up here from Ahmad saying the match speaks more about the players than it does about Ralph. Let's remember it's the same squad Ollie had, and as Roy Keane famously said, Leopards don't change their spots. And I just want your approach on what impact in terms of, do you think, and obviously there was a visible impact, we saw the difference. However, there wasn't a huge difference for me in approach. I think it was 10 yards higher up the pitch, and when you are 10 yards higher up the pitch, you're naturally closer to the ball, which is easy to close down. If you're sitting back in a little bit of a low block type thing, instead of having to close 20 yards, that's a bit of an effort. You think, I'm not really going to close that down. But if you're 5 yards away, well, you can go close that ball down. So I just think there was a starting position which was much higher, which allowed us to close down. But I think also, which, again, I come back to player responsibility, I just think the players played well. I just think passes were sticking. There was intent. They were running. Sometimes we question the running of these players, but that's not down to the manager. That's simply effort. I think the effort was there. Parson was controlling, was there. Fred was controlling the ball. Scott McTominay was controlling the ball. Both fullbacks, you could argue they're our better footballing fullbacks over Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw. So when we're going forward, we had that outlet out wide. And I just think we just played better as a team. Individually, we just played better. But there's no doubt in that Ralph obviously had an impact. You could visibly see there was a difference. But just your thoughts on, you almost weigh up a percentage in regards to how much was Ralph, how much was the players?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think when there's a win or when there's a loss, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. I never have believed in you can give a manager 100% credit for a result, because if there's not 11 players on the pitch executing his plan, he's not getting any praise. Likewise, if the players are not playing well, the manager's not the one on the pitch. So the balance is always somewhere in the middle. I think in this case with United, you can give maybe more credit to the manager, and that's only perhaps because you can see clearly there's a new system compared to what we were deploying only 3 days ago against Arsenal, for example. Cristiano Ronaldo had a phenomenal work rate today, can I say. I thought he was really pressing from the front. There were times where he did dip off, and I think they'll find a way to manage that, because again, I don't want my 36-year-old striker who is so lethal in front of goal using his energy for 90 minutes pressing from the front. But I think all in all, the system complemented our players, and I think that's another key factor. Can I say, I think that's Harry Maguire's best game in a solid while. And I think this system actually, there was a concern around maybe his lack of pace will get exposed. I actually go the other way. I think because we're pressing from the front, it will only be on occasion where he'll actually need a sprint back. And even if that happens, you'd think between the two centre-halves, he'll be the one who actually attacks the ball. And once Rafael Varane is fit, he'll be the one tucking using his pace. So I think it will complement the Englishman.
It's like you're listening to me a couple of weeks ago. Exactly what I said. I understand the concerns with the space in behind Harry Maguire, but if they are only playing one up front, which this time was Christian Benteke, if Maguire, and it was a little bit different, this one, Lindelof was actually a little bit more advanced, but if Maguire's a little bit more advanced and Varane is sort of reading the game from behind, it does it does sort of complement their styles. And Varane has spoken about Harry Maguire complementing his style. But Matt here saying sort of where's the effort towards the end under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think that's the exciting thing with Ralf Rangnick going upstairs now, or hopefully going upstairs and hopefully have an influence. Well, he'll be bringing in the right characters, the right people on the right contracts type thing. He's spoken about contracts and motivation. So regardless of the manager, we'll have leopards who will change their spots kind of thing. But on Fred and McTominay, last bit on the team selection type thing, it was kind of expected that they were going to play, maybe through fitness. Obviously, that they played well against Arsenal in terms of got the job done. They're fit. A new manager coming in probably doesn't want to change too much, wants to keep sort of some familiarity amongst the team. Ralf Rangnick, Fred's got so much praise, and he's going to be my man on match. I'm not going to hide from that. I thought he's pretty much fantastic. I thought it was Fred's best performance, and McTominay got so much hate. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of McTominay, so feel free to call me up, or people in the live chat call me up if I'm showing bias. And I'm not. McTominay doesn't get anywhere near my 3-2-1s or anything, but I thought McTominay was solid. And I think you look at what Ralf Rangnick's saying now, this might be just good management by Ralf Rangnick, but he can't mention Fred without mentioning McTominay. And this goes into the term that we always use, McFred type thing. But any sort of praise he gave Fred, next sentence was talking about Scott McTominay, saying he was just as important. And I think it was just an old school midfield partnership that just worked. Now, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we've always criticised that it wasn't working. But Ralf Rangnick, his first game in charge, McFred straight in the middle, and he got the best out of them. And not through, I don't think, any huge instructional change. Maybe just the different slight twist in system suited them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the reason I kind of like what Rangnick did. I like what the German did in terms of how he answered the question. He said in his post-match press conference, the way Fred and McTominay played off the ball was perfect. Now, I find that really interesting from a manager. I think if you were going to, again, I hate to compare, and this isn't a comparison really to say, one's better than the other. But I think if that was Ollie in the press conference, he would say Fred and McTominay played well. Whereas in this press conference, you're seeing with the German, everything they did off the ball was good. And in fact, he actually called out the fact that both of them had played flat passes during the match, which he was not happy with.
What do you think of that? I don't want to interrupt you there. And I like what he's done. However, my concern is, let's say in 2 weeks, we've won a few games, we're playing forward passes, we're attacking, and there's a game, let's say we lose, I don't know, Brighton. Someone plays a square pass, Fred McTominay plays a square pass and it gets intercepted and we don't win the game, but that moment sticks out. Square passes happen. They're going to happen. Barcelona, a prime Rangnick side, are going to play a square pass. Sometimes it's the only option. But if we get in this good mood and suddenly a result goes against us and the manager has spoken openly, which I like, but I find interesting, he's spoken openly about not doing it, where in reality it happens 100 times a game, it's going to stick out in fans' mind and they want to say, what's McTominay playing a square pass for? What's Fred playing a square pass for? When in reality it always happens. But just it's a weird one where the manager has openly spoken about it, which I like and I agree. But I just think it's going to be used as a stick to beat some players with when results don't go our way.
No, I don't think so. I take your point, but I think in this occasion he's critical because they played the flat pass when a forward ball was on, and obviously he's a very intelligent man, Ralf Rangnick. He'll understand that. Yes, if you've got your forward players all blocked off, or the passing lane is blocked off, of course you're going to go for the safer pass. You got to keep possession, as opposed to forcing a pass where it's 50-50. So I think that Ralf Rangnick will understand that, but I think what he's doing there is. And it's probably something that I've almost been critical of. If you actually think back to Sir Alex Ferguson, Tom, he did call out player performances at times. And it wasn't something that he did in a nasty way, not narcissistic, the way that Mourinho would say Luke Shaw as an example, where he'd say it's my mind in his body sort of thing. They played well. I like what they did, but this is an area where they could improve. So I like that. That leaves a room for improvement, and it challenges the players to be better, not to think, we got a 1-0 result against Crystal Palace, everything's rosy. This is saying we got to continue to improve. So I really liked it. I really liked it by Rangnick.
Yeah, no, look, I've questioned some of the things he has said in the media, but in saying that, I loved everything he said. We've never heard this type of talk before, so I'm just sort of almost just getting used to it and just sort of question one or two things, but I've absolutely loved what he's done sort of on and off the pitch so far.
I'll tell you what, you know what it does show? Sorry to interrupt you, Tom, but you know what it does show? It shows he doesn't fear the players. And I think that that's a really crucial point.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. And look, it's one game and it's a positive feeling. So obviously it's all going to be all smiles. But at the moment, there looked like there was some type of relationship / chemistry / respect between Rangnick and Ronaldo, which is always going to be a discussion point. So that was obviously very good to see. But Richard here was worth getting up to watch the game, going to next to no sleep. Yeah, it does make a difference when you win those Monday morning games. Obviously, as an Australian fan, 1 o'clock Monday morning can be tricky. But when you win, all worth it. Now, before we get into the 3-2-1s, Larry, just tactically, just because that is the buzzword, when Solskjaer was sacked and Rangnick came in, it was all about tactics. Very basic. Now, obviously, there was a very complex twist to the system, and obviously, he had an in-depth discussion with the players, and obviously, something far above our pay grade in which he changed. In my opinion, from a basic view, it's what I said earlier. We're just 10 yards higher up the pitch. Now, obviously, there was a change in shape type thing, but that being 10 yards high enabled us to be closer to the ball when Crystal Palace were playing out from the back, and a little bit more just likelihood that if I'm 20 metres back from the fullback and then he gets the ball and think, well, I might not go there. That's 20 metres of pointless running because when I get there, he's just going to pass the ball. But if I'm 5 yards away, well, I can go close that ball straight away. So did you see any huge tactical change in regards to that? What was more impressive for you? Was it off the ball stuff or on the ball stuff tactically?
I'm actually going to say off the ball. I like the way that United were pressing from the front, and because what it does show is we're actually trying to take control of the football game. And I think naturally through Ralf Rangnick, I think that word will almost be something that does pop up on our content regularly. But that's because what I like here is United weren't running much under Solskjaer, and I think that's clear. The statistics will tell you that. I think it was something like, I think it was 17th or 18th. So we're talking about in the bottom 5 clubs in the Premier League in terms of distance covered. So I think that what you will see now is we will actually get the ball more. I think United will look to play on the front foot more, which is really promising. But not just that, I think it complements our players. If I talk about the limitations of Scott McTominay and Fred, it's actually they struggle when the play's a bit slower. I think by playing at this higher intensity, it actually complements those two players because they don't have to sit there and think and dwell on the ball. They can actually just play a forward pass. And I think that will then in turn create more opportunities for the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. So no, I thought what we did off the ball was good because I think what you'll see over the coming weeks is that will only continue to improve. And I guess I'm keen to see in terms of how does that result in terms of goals.
Yeah, no, definitely. George is saying, I like how they put more emphasis on cutting off the passing lanes rather than just mindlessly pressing players, I think, aka Bruno, and creating duels. I think it'll be interesting to see the interception statistics. I think Taylor's had the most intercepts, but that comes from sort of making the pass tricky for Crystal Palace. But we'll go on to 3-2-1s, Larry. And it's an interesting one because obviously match winner, Fred. First things first with the 3-2-1s. Thank God we don't have to discuss David De Gea. It's 3-2-1. So I don't think he's going to be in this discussion. Feel free to put him in there if so, but can't remember anything he did. Didn't play bad, but wasn't involved. So is Fred 3-2-1? Is he 3 points surely? Because while I thought McTominay was solid, if I was to pick one in midfield, it was by far Fred, and obviously with the match-winning goal. But anyone else stand out? But I'm thinking surely Fred, and that's hard. That's weird coming from me, but I don't think there's a close second.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Fred's the obvious choice. And can we just talk about the goal? Seriously, look, I think Fred is as shocked as anyone that he's pulled that off. There's not a hope. I think he's just thrown his foot at it. He's like, all right, well, look, I'll shoot. I'm here. And I think he couldn't believe it. But he did 3 different celebrations for the one goal.
It's yeah, I saw the celebration, but on the goal, that's what I talk about when Fred gets the ball, whether being a shooting position or whether it be sort of on halfway, he's got that. He's got very good technique. He should be able to do that. He's got that in his locker. He's actually got beautiful technique when you watch him. Just sometimes it doesn't come off, or a lot of the times it doesn't come off, and you're left there sort of scratching your head, sort of thinking, what is with this? But yeah, when you do see that, you think, more of that, please, Fred. Whether Rangnick has gone to him and just sort of showed him his Brazil passport just to remind him, or given him a Brazil flag or something before the match just to remind him. But what do you make of that in terms of Fred? Is it a new lease of life? Like, obviously, everyone gets a clean slate under the new manager. Obviously, even players who are completely on the out will be very interested to see the young boys line up. But we've talked about which players will suit Rangnick, which players won't suit him. Fred is the one a lot of people are suggesting will suit him. And look, on first evidence, the match display, it's hard to argue.
Tell you what, there are 21 people watching this video. If all of you liked Fred's goal, which you did, you should be liking the video. Tell you what I did like about Fred, and this is where I'm actually going to give some credit to Michael Carrick. Carrick's the one who actually started playing Fred further forward. I think what we've seen is he's been playing like a defensive midfielder, or what I like to refer to as a 6. I think now he's playing more like an 8, where he's not being asked to almost come between the 2 centre halves. I think he's being told to play further up the pitch. McTominay seems to have taken that spot of occupying the deeper slot. And I think that's been the true benefit. I think we've seen Fred's level of performance has gone up actually under Carrick. If we think back to the Villarreal performance and at Chelsea, and I think if you think of the Chelsea game, he almost attempted the same thing. If that goes in, I think we're talking about Fred, then yeah, seriously. So that's the thing. So credit goes to Carrick because he's actually identified that actually if you play to Fred's strengths, which is get the ball to his feet as opposed to letting him be back to goal, you'll limit the amount of errors he produces. And not only that, you're playing to his strengths. So credit starts there. But in saying that, the system that Rangnick will look to deploy, of course, it benefits Fred. He's the most energetic player we have on the pitch. So, yeah, for sure. Keen to see how Fred goes. I don't think we're going to be talking about him being one of the best midfielders in Europe or anything like that. But is he an effective part of United squad? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll go into everyone else's 3-2-1s here in the comments before we touch on our 2 and our 1. But obviously, Fred for 3 points. And I can see all the comments here. Everyone has Fred for 3 as well. But George saying 3 for Fred, Tellez for 2, and Lindelof for 1. Yeah, I thought Lindelof was solid. I thought Maguire was solid, but if I was to choose one, probably Lindelof. I think just a little bit more involved. Elliot saying Fred 3, Delot 2. Yeah, Delot was a standout for me, and Lindelof 1. George going 3 for Fred, 2 for Delot, 1 for Tellez. Ryan 3, Delot Fred, Delot, and Lindelof. Matt Green, Fred, Delot, Lindelof. Yeah, Lindelof. I think he's a shout. I mean, he might be a bit harsh. I probably won't give him any points, but he's definitely in with the shout. Fred won the game, Delot and Tellez. For me, I'm looking at the fullbacks just like Josh there. Wes says Fred, Delot, and Lindelof. And Elliot, get on the like sides. Appreciate the support, Elliot. Yeah, if you haven't liked the video, please do. And feel free to share it with any Reds you think might enjoy the content. But on 2 points and 1 point there, Larry, I can't split it between the fullbacks. I looked at the statistics and going by the numbers, Tellez actually had a bit, and you don't have a better game by the numbers, but if you go and buy the numbers, Tellez had a better game than Diogo Dalot. But I'll probably opt for Diogo Dalot. I just think he, off the back of the, who did we play? Arsenal, off the back of the Arsenal performance, kicked on and did sort of a very good display and shows the difference. I think on both sides. Luke Shaw defensively are probably a little bit more solid than Tellez, but Tellez going forward is a far better footballer. Exactly the same case on the right-hand side. Now, at home against Crystal Palace is where you do want those sort of attacking fullbacks who get on the ball. My concern, which I alluded to at the start of the podcast, is this overreaction, whether it be about Ralf Rangnick or, let's say, Diogo Dalot right back. I just think everyone's saying, we're all on the Dalot hype train at the moment, saying, okay, here's a future, get rid of Wan-Bissaka. I'm thinking, hang on. In these 2 games, we haven't seen Dalot defend. 6 weeks ago we were saying Delo's the worst defender at the club type thing. When someone starts running at him, it might change our mind. So I don't want everyone to sort of say, okay, Wan-Bissaka's finished. I fully praise and get excited about Diogo Delo's performance. I completely agree. But we've seen one half of his game so far since he's come into the team. When he defends, the evidence we have, it leaves a lot to be desired. But there's nothing negative at the moment to say about Diogo Delo. I thought if Fred doesn't score the winner, Delo's man of the match for me, possibly.
Yeah, Diogo Delo did play well. I think you're being a bit harsh on him, though. I thought against Arsenal, he definitely did get run at, and I thought he had to defend crucially in some situations. But if I look at today, Zaha definitely tried to isolate him. There's no doubt. There was one time where he did get the better of him. But in saying that, I've seen Wan-Bissaka gotten the better of by Zaha before. Zaha's a tricky player. He's pacey and he knows how to dribble at people. So, sometimes that happens. But no, I thought Delo, I got to be honest, Tom, I thought Delo was finished at United. I was on here, I've been on here saying I don't think he's a United caliber player. I thought maybe, yes, he was good at AC Milan. I just thought maybe that's because it's a slower league. Maybe it benefited him, allowed him more time to get on the ball because he's definitely got technical ability. But I look at what he did with the ball today, some of the crosses he's put in, and I look at the defensive work rate. Now, look, obviously Wan-Bissaka is a much better one-on-one defender. But you know what? You look at with Delo, it's so interesting, actually, that Wan-Bissaka, I actually think he puts himself in really poor positions, but actually he makes up for it through his pace and he's obviously got a great instinct for tackling. With Diogo Delo, I actually think he's more intelligent in the sense of he puts himself in the better positions, but when he's one-on-one, he gets tangled up and he gets beaten. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks. I think at the moment, when you look at Wan-Bissaka's form, maybe Diogo Delo's put himself as first choice, but in saying that, I think it just takes one bad performance and we're having a different discussion.
Yeah, well, I just remember Champions League. We're obviously going to preview the next Champions League game tomorrow. We'll touch on a little bit here, but I remember he came in for Wan-Bissaka against Villarreal. He had an absolute nightmare, and we're saying get rid of him. He can't defend, and then 6 weeks later, he's our new right back. And look, I loved his performance, and I hope to see him kick on. I do like Delo, but obviously still do have concerns. But I assume after that chat and sort of positivity, you're backing him for the 2 points.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Portuguese was awesome.
For 1 point then, for me, it would go to the other side because I thought Tellez was just as involved.
I like Tellez. I really do.
Look, I've called it for, and I can't hide away. Luke Shaw was the best left back in Europe last season, hands down, fully deserving. Absolutely loved what he did last season.
Was he? Because if I look at Luke Shaw's delivery in terms of as an attacking outlet, it's not elite. He doesn't put in, amazing crosses that are really threatening to the defense or anything like that.
If the strikers are on the end of them, if the strikers on the end of the cross, suddenly it is a good cross type thing. And I agree, Tellez obviously has a far better delivery. Luke Shaw doesn't look dangerous in that area, but a lot of it is down to, was it well defended? Well, suddenly it's not an assist, or if the striker puts it over, was it a created chance, not an assist type thing. So, yeah, well, maybe it is a bit of a shout. Obviously, other fans or other clubs probably weren't saying Luke Shaw was the best left back in Europe, but look in the Euros, who's the best left back type thing. So he obviously had a very good season last year, and full praise for that. However, I've always said, even throughout that period, I'd rather Alex Tellez in the team. I just think Tellez is a better footballer, and the more better footballers you have on the pitch, the better off you're going to be. So I do like Tellez in there. No, he's not perfect.
His free kick was a belter too, by the way. He's he hits the post at the end. Great technique. And that's a difficult one. The fact that he's going for the far post that close, I thought that's skillful.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, he's definitely, he's obviously against Villarreal. We're talking about Delo and Villarreal, but he obviously scored that cracker against Villarreal earlier in the Champions League season. So I think we'll sit on there in terms of Fred for 3 points, Diogo Delo for 2 points, and Alex Tellez for 1. And George all over the stats here, reminding us or pointing out this has to be the first time we're giving our 3-2-1s to Portuguese speakers, and neither was Ronaldo or Bruno. Ronaldo, do you want to talk about him? I thought, actually, he was good in the press, not good in the press, but sort of involved in the press. You thought, okay, yeah, he's getting through work and had a good game, but here we are at home to Crystal Palace, and I don't know, is it a good thing we're not talking about Ronaldo? Is that good to be sort of heaping praise on other players, or was Ronaldo a little bit quiet by his standards type thing? But was there anything you want to read into the Ronaldo performance? I thought he actually played quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, so do I. Look, at the end of the day, there's two sides to a game of football, and I thought Crystal Palace sat deep. It wasn't the game for Ronaldo. It was always going to be difficult to score. And actually, if you look at the balance of play, it almost looked like a goal was going to come from midfield. because they're always going to want to occupy the attacking options and sit deep on. Of course, when you're a defender, the first person you're looking at is Cristiano Ronaldo. This is a sort of game where actually it might be difficult for him to score, but you'd hope that his presence actually creates space for someone else. Now, if you told me before the game that Fred was the one that's going to score the winner with an absolute bang of the right foot, I'm going to say to you, look, I think you got rocks in your head. In saying that, it's happened to come off that way. But no, I agree with you. I thought Ronaldo was active. He was good. And in the small opportunities he had, when he's in possession, Tom, I think people should really focus on what he does. He doesn't lose the ball. He's brilliant. If you compare it to, say, a Marcus Rashford, who was woeful today.
We haven't even touched on Rashford.
We haven't. But Ronaldo in tight spaces, he just keeps the ball so intelligent.
Well, Ekel here saying Teller's certainly been missing in this United team, mustn't be dropped. Now, I think keeps his spot for now. I'll be interested. I think Luke Shaw's injury was a concussion, so I'll be interested in how they treat that in regards to his fitness and if he comes straight back into the team type thing. But Prem here saying, evening lads, hope everyone is buzzing after that win. Well, I'm sure 99% of the fan base, I'm sure there's one or two nuts out there who want to pick negatives out of it. But Rob here saying, Larry, liking the look of your kit. And speaking of kits, that's obviously talking about Man United game. Obviously, Rob was there yesterday and Larry yesterday. We all did our best to fit into our Man United kits for our charity game against Watford. And obviously, we did run out 5-4 winners. As I say, defending was a little bit scarce at times, but we went 1-0 down quite early and we're thinking, oh my God, here we go. But we got back into the game and obviously a few guys in the live chat obviously were there supporting and both playing as well, which was good to see. We talked about at the start of the podcast how the body pull up, obviously in a world of hurt. But thoughts on the day, before we get into the performance, thoughts on the day in general?
Yeah, it was good. Watford were very capable opposition as well.
There was a case for Watford actually maybe almost
the better team, I thought. Yeah, if you look at the overall in the game, I thought they controlled the game better. Ralf Rangnick would have been proud of what Watford did. But at the end of the day, goals are what count, and I think that's what we showed in true United fashion. Like I say, AstroTurf is so bad. God, Tom, seriously, the next game we play, I beg of you, get us on grass. I can't. My hamstrings can't take it, mate.
The last time we played on the grass, that was against Manchester City, and that sort of resembled more of a cow paddock than a football field. So there's a balancing act on sort of grass pitches you can find around Sydney. But what's good? Does it make you feel anything like? Because here we are, we're on this podcast. We criticise the players every single week. We say he should have done this, he should have done that. We criticise this touch, or he's got to do better from that area. When you play, this is the closest. Obviously, any of us are obviously going to get to playing for Manchester United. We're representing the official supporters club. We put the shirt on, and we're playing. Does it put a perspective when we criticise these players when we find ourselves on the pitch and we're making these mistakes that just you wouldn't even see on the TV type thing? Does it put in perspective? Are we too harsh on the players at times, or because they're paid a lot of money, they deserve it? Or because I watch and I think, how can I criticise that player if I've just done 10 times worse and something I wouldn't be able to perform? Like, it just sometimes puts me in a weird spot where I sort of start to question myself.
No, I think, with all due respect, Tom, and I got to say, truthfully, you are one of the more technically gifted players I have seen with my own eyes in person. But in saying that, when you play for Manchester United, look, there's just a level of responsibility that comes with that shirt. I think you can always, and at least on this podcast, we'll always, we'll grant a player a bad game here or there. Even we'll allow them a patch of bad form. I think when a patch of form is going on for 3 months, however, that's when it's like, come on, like there's a level that you expect. I tell you what, and this is the key thing. I always wondered when I was younger. I used to watch the likes of. I can't think of a key name that's popping into my head. But you would watch teams in the lower sides in the Premier League. You'd look at them on an occasion. There's one for QPR. I can't remember how to say his name. Tavat or something like that. Having a mind blank. Anyway, he was the winger for.
Yeah, Moroccan. Is it Moroccan? Adel Tarat.
Yeah. Tarat.
Yeah, he was a player. He was a player.
Absolutely brilliant, right? Why did a top club never sign him? I'll tell you why. Because he's not consistent. The difference between the players who play for the likes of Manchester United and Real Madrid and Barcelona, they have a level of consistency to their game. Whereas with these sorts of players, they can be brilliant 1 out of 10 games or 1 out of 15 games, and that's why they're battling relegation or they're finishing 10th. The Premier League is looking at who's the most consistent over a 38-game period. And that's the key. So, yes, I think, yes, it's difficult, it's harsh, but it's also why you're paid more than all the players in the lower end of the league, more than the players in the championship. There's just a level of responsibility that comes with wearing the shirt.
Yeah, well, two comments. Yeah, I brought one up. Matt also saying, Tom, there's a reason why we played in front of 40 people and they play in front of 75,000 people or 40,000 people. And Josh also saying, we play twice a year. They train twice a day, which does prove the difference. And George in his own 3-2-1 is obviously one of our goalkeepers. He's given, obviously, one of our strikers, Fergal, scored a hat-trick, match-winning hat-trick. Abella, the other goalkeeper, Raphael, saved a penalty. I think we were 2-1 up at the time, or it was 2-2 or something. He saved a crucial penalty. So it was obviously crucial. And Adrian, one of the listeners from the podcast, with a good goal, opened our scoring.
Can we talk about Marcus Rashford for a little bit? Because you're talking of
he could have fit right in our game, I think, in some of the decisions he was making.
Honestly, he looks well off the pace. I don't know what's going on. I thought when he first came back from injury, he looked sharp and he was scoring goals, and he just looks like he's sort of dipped back off. The way he's playing at the moment is it's reminiscent of someone who hasn't played for months. So I don't know. What do you think it is with Marcus Rashford? Do you think it's an ability thing? Do you think it's a confidence thing, a form thing, all of the above? What do you make of it? And would you be pulling him out for the game against Young Boys, or do you actually think it's an opportunity for him to play 90 minutes?
Well, the Young Boys one is interesting in how do you approach that? Do people need minutes, or does he want to experiment, or does he want to get players familiar with each other? We'll obviously touch on that tomorrow. I don't want to go sort of overreact with Marcus Rashford. Obviously, you just look at he's capable of absolute brilliance. He could become a Man United legend, and rightly so. However, I do look at it, and I wouldn't say ability. Like, he's obviously got all the ability in the world. He can go past players and put it in the top corner. He's got fantastic skill. So the ability is in question. I just think overall as a player, I just think he is what he a little bit is. I think with Paul Pogba, we say, well, will he reach that height? Well, maybe he's just going to be what he is. Great player, capable of moments, but ultimately over a season, inconsistent. I think Marcus Rashford will be this player who can go 6 months and absolutely be the best player in the league. The next 3 months will just be, is he all that type thing? And obviously that 6 months might be good enough to be fantastic. But I just think I made the point. I think the one player, I made this point last week when Ralf Rangnick came in. I said the one player, in my opinion, who might struggle in this team is Marcus Rashford. I just think from an intelligence point of view, and here I am again, some of the decisions I was making yesterday were the furthest thing from intelligent. However, I do look at Marcus Rashford and just think I don't understand some of the decisions he makes on the field, and Ralf Rangnick will need. He always talks about training the brain and sort of using.
Can you give me an example there? So you're saying, like, just for our viewers, I think it's really good to analyze it. So when you're saying Marcus Rashford, some of the decisions he makes are poor. So, like, can you give it an example that you know?
I think he plays. I don't want to say selfish. I don't want to say he hogs the ball, but he gets himself into positions where his only outlet is himself. He doesn't get himself in a position when he's going to receive the ball. He receives the ball where his first thing in mind is, I'm going to go past this defender. Where someone else, a ball player who gets on the ball, and that's his style of play. Fair play, that's his strength. However, I think in the way Ralf Rangnick and sort of a lot of managers now, and especially in teamwork, you need to move the ball. The ball moves quicker than players. You need to get yourself in a position where you give yourself 2 or 3 options. Okay, again, go past the player, but I can see this player. If I'm just receiving the ball just this way, well, that's my one option. Okay, I think he runs down blind alleys. I think he's pressing now. It'll be interesting how Ralf Rangnick improves the pressing, but I think Marcus Rashford's body position when he closes someone down just opens a passing lane for the fullback. And I just think, God, it's simple. Let's say he's on the left-hand side. He will close the centre back to force him to the right back. I just think, well, no, you should be at the right back. Curve your run from that right back to force him back towards the goalkeeper or the other centre back, because Ralf Rangnick has spoken about one of the triggers for the press being a square pass between the 2 centre backs. But Marcus, which is very often the case across most teams, when they start passing the ball to each other, that's your cue to go. However, what Marcus Rashford does, and this is obviously before the Rangnick era, but I also saw it in this one, was he closes in between the centre backs and forces the play to the fullback. I just think that almost sort of goes against what Ralf Rangnick wants. So it'll be interesting how he sort of develops. So you have to give him a clean slate because he's obviously been under a few coaches now and no real consistency in his development in regards to that coaching. So he might turn out to be brilliant, and I really hope so, because I do love Marcus Rashford. I see huge flaws compared to Anthony Martial. I know he's 10 times more frustrating, but I see something there. I see intelligence. I see ability on the ball. I see composure. Where Marcus Rashford is 100 mile an hour all the time for me. And I just think at the elite level, you need to be able to slow it down and think about the sort of the wider picture around you.
And he's 7 years in. I mean, I know that's crazy to talk about. I think this is his 6th or 7th year in top flight football for Marcus Rashford. So, he's not well in age. Yes, he's 24 years of age, but in terms of experience, he's not short of a game. Did you make anything of Anthony Alenga being on the bench, obviously being brought on, and Anthony Martial had his own corporate suite at Old Trafford for his birthday? Do you think he's just been given the day off, told to eat some frog legs, or what did you make of that one? Because I thought Anthony Alenga, when he did come on, very energetic, very direct.
The Martial one, who knows? I assume an injury, but who knows? But the Anthony Elanga one, the one report, I think we're all waiting for a training ground report from this first day with Ralf Rangnick, and there was nothing coming out. The one thing that did come out, and again, is this PR or is it true, was that he was quite impressed with Anthony Elanga. And obviously he's on the bench and came on, so you assume there was something in that Anthony Elanga did impress Ralf Rangnick, and come off the bench, you assumed he would be in line for a start against young boys. And I think I don't want to say the game changed when he came on for Marcus Rashford, but ultimately he did come on, and he was not involved, but he's on the field when we did score. So you can say it was the right decision to take Marcus Rashford off. And Anthony Elanga, every time, I'm not sold on him as a player, but every time he comes on, he makes an impact.
He's quick, he's technical, he scores goals.
I know it sounds stupid, but he has it all. He has all those attributes. But when I see him play, I see a player bursting onto the scene. I see him having the attributes to come on and have that fantastic breakout year. Then ultimately, if that pace isn't there, it might fizzle out type thing. And I hope not. He might develop into a fantastic
player.
Scored
a lot of goals in the juniors. Not quite Mason Greenwood levels, but a lot of goals.
I think he might be hard done by in terms of what I saw Marcus Rashford come onto the scene and do, what I see Mason Greenwood do in the 16s and 18s. I haven't seen that from Elanga type thing yet.
Elanga's got a better goal record than Marcus Rashford at the same levels.
Yeah. Oh, look, I absolutely love what he's done since he's come in, and I'd love to see him start against young boys. I think he's deserving, especially over Marcus Rashford at the moment. But it's an interesting one. We'll obviously touch on young boys. It's a Thursday morning game, Sydney time, so obviously Wednesday night UK. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do a preview of the young boys, and look, no idea what that team selection will be. Larry, off the top of your head, is it and obviously we'll dissect it tomorrow, we'll go into depth, but off the top of your head, a quick answer, is it a complete rotation, or does he want to sort of play a few players and sort of get them familiar with each other?
He'll want to embed his system, and I think that's the crucial point. So what I think you'll see is a balance between, I don't think, trust me, Cristiano Ronaldo is not starting. I think you'll see Tony Martial get a start. I think you'll see Donny van de Beek get a start. Dare I say it, Tom, don't get excited. I think Juan Mata might play. I think you will start to see those sorts of, I think Eric Bailly will get a start. So you'll see players who are, definitely mainstays of the squad. In saying that, do I expect mass rotation? No. I think you will see Tellez and Delo most likely. Maybe one beside. Do we know what's happening with Luke Shaw? I know there were some concussion concerns, but we just haven't really seen anything, have we? We haven't heard anything. He's clearly being monitored. I think it's a little bit of a concern, to be honest. United seem to be a little bit quiet on the Luke Shaw front. But if he's fit, maybe he does come in. Maybe Tom Heaton gets a game. Who knows? Dean Henderson. Gosh, we've almost forgotten.
Yeah, I think Dean Henderson will have to play. Get him in the shop window. You assume he's often, well, not to Newcastle, but you assume they will look to offload him. So, I think he's almost, I think Donny van de Beek will get a start. But again, we'll dissect all this tomorrow. So join us tomorrow for we'll have an interactive match preview. Just one comment. I just want to bring it back to the charity game. Talk myself up a little bit because obviously didn't talk about my performance. But Mad saying, Mr. Simpson, if you're still in the chat, can we just tell you what a fine man, not a half bad footballer you've raised in, Tom. And just the Zidane quote, Mad saying here, give me 10 planks of wood and one Tom, and we beat Watford 5-0. Larry, I didn't get on the score sheet, but as my sort of pro clubs pro on FIFA 22, bald Bruno, I did manage 3 assists. So ultimately, I did prove the difference.
Did you get 3 assists? Didn't even notice. But I'm gonna say about you, Tom, what I said about what Solskjaer said about Pogba. Did you just were they simple layoffs, or was it a brilliant ball like what Pogba did for Mason Greenwood to score the goal against Leeds? Unfortunately, no one. Well, someone did record the game. No one in this chat. 31 people here. I don't think a single one of them is going to bother to go dig that video out. So I'm going to sit here. I'm going to say they were all layoff passes, uninspiring assists, and it'll just be one for the record books. Well, not even in the record books because it was a friendly. So there you go.
Well, anyone in the live chat, please let us know if you think Larry is telling a few porcupines there, because I think my second assist was absolutely brilliant. But enough about me. It was very good to get out there. The link is still in the description. If you want to donate, all the money raised does go to the food bank here in Sydney and Canberra. It was for a very good cause. Watford were great. The game was played in good spirits. And so 5-4 was end to end on another day. They could have won. But it was great to get sort of as many Man United fans from Sydney down there with the red shirt on. and put the body on the line. It was a battle, which was great to see. And ultimately, a game in December, we were thinking it was going to be 45 degrees. Was a nice 19 or 20 degrees. So it was very comfortable conditions. Obviously, we are paying the price for it at the moment in regards to how our bodies have not recovered yet. But yeah, definitely, we're maybe looking at maybe doing a game in January, February. If you weren't involved and do want to, just send us a message, and I can let you know how you can get involved, because they are good fun. But Ian here, hi guys, hope you're well. Obviously, the end of the show, so don't mind going back and watching the show. It was a good one. So everyone in the live chat, we do truly appreciate you joining us and getting involved. As I say, when we see chats like this and it's all positive and sort of constructive type thing, it's far better than some of the bigger channels we do see, and they're saying this player needs to be sold straight away because this player had a good performance type thing. I think the chat in here has been very level-headed. We truly appreciate that, Larry. Beautiful shirt, mate. I've looking at that all episode. It's a classic.
Yeah, it is.
Mine's fallen to bits. My AIG's just gone off the shirt.
1983 charity. So it's got the Charity Shield print on there. Yeah, belting kit. Look, I love the older kits. I love this year's kit simply because it's not one that you see, and it is one from yesteryear that they've actually tried to impersonate. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too fond of football kits nowadays. I mean, look, United do put out a good shirt every now and then, but like if I think to last year's kit, I thought it was disgraceful, right? So just got to take the good ones when they come along. But look, I think United, if you actually look at their kits from 1980 through to 2000, maybe 2001 or so, there's some belting kits in there, home and away. So yeah, get on there, find your retro kits, I'd say.
Well, definitely. Actually, one of the members of the supporters club, a member of our pro clubs team, did get us a few kits, and I was obviously shared them out yesterday at the game. And my favourite kit I'll wear tomorrow on the stream. Remind me, Larry. The 95 kit, obviously with Old Trafford in the background. Obviously, my favourite United kit growing up. So that'll be worn tomorrow for obviously our Champions League preview against Young Boys. We'll do that tomorrow, and that'll be fascinating to see how does Ronaldo play. Does a complete rotation? We'll dissect all that tomorrow. So again, thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. If you are new, please subscribe. That would be great. Just ticked over 300 subscribers the other day, which is fantastic. And Larry, have a good night, and we'll chat to you tomorrow.
Pleasure, mate. Catch you then.